If you have clicked on this episode, consider it a sign and an invitation to empower your fertility journey. I'm Michelle Orbitz, a fertility acupuncturist, coach, and podcast host. I've worked with countless couples who experience fertility challenges and know that the fertility journey feels like anything but empowering. My intention in my work is to change that. Each year, I host the Empower Your Fertility Summit, featuring 18 expert fertility guests who will provide valuable tips and tools to empower your fertility journey. This event is completely free, and I encourage you to sign up through the link in the episode notes. You'll receive daily emails with links to each speaker's videos, along with free gifts from each and every speaker. This event will begin March 15th, 2023. I promise you, you will not want to miss this amazing opportunity. Episode number 224 of the Wholesome Fertility Podcast. My guest today is Judy Wilkins-Smith. Judy is a highly regarded organizational, individual, and family patterns expert. As a founder of System Dynamics for individuals and organizations, she collaborates with individuals to implement innovative whole system design elements, ensuring balance, appetite for excellence, and sustained success. She is the author of Decoding Your Emotional Blueprint, a powerful guide to transformation through disentangling multigenerational patterns. Welcome to the Wholesome Fertility Podcast. I'm Michelle, a fertility acupuncturist here to provide you with resources on how to create a wholesome approach to your fertility journey. Welcome to the podcast, Judy.
Thank you, Michelle. It's lovely to be with you today.
So nice to meet you. And I would love for you to share your story and how you got into the work that you do today.
Oh my goodness, that was quite a journey. It was one of those wow when you look back journeys. I was in the world of medicine, moved over here. My father was killed in the world of medicine. In the world of medicine. And dropped in all of my areas of specialty. And I think that's when you get a very clear sense that we're done. Mm-hmm. So out of the world of medicine, it was a question of either writing books or going crazy. And I figured writing books was probably the better option. And I was doing research for a particular book that I was writing and came across someone who was doing this work. And they said, come study the work with me and I'll help you with a book. So I went and studied the work and got zero help with a book, just by the way. But that was kind of the start of a different career. And once I'd started doing it with families and individuals, people said to me, well, if you could do that, can you also do it with executives and companies?
So this person taught you family constellations or like kind of
They taught me the beginning of family constellations, and they showed me one pattern that stuck for me.
Okay.
And I began to realize that there were all sorts of patterns. Mm-hmm. And then when I moved across to organizations, well, they're made up of people and they have patterns too. So it was a pretty natural fit. Mm-hmm. But probably the most intriguing thing was about 4 years in, somebody said to me, well, of course, you'll know how to do this. And I went, okay, why? And they said, well, you come from South Africa. That's where this all began. And I didn't know that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And they said to me, it began with the Zulu tribe. So full circle piece of that was when I left the teaching hospital I worked at, the person who gave my farewell talk was a Zulu gentleman. And he said to me, you may be leaving us, but you'll find a way to represent us in the world. And I went, yeah.
Oh my God. I just got the chills. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. So how did they discover it? Like really, what's the background of this type of work?
So the background to that is Bert Hellinger, who gave us this body of work, or as it was through him. Of course, it's grown a lot. But he went to go and tame the Zulus, and instead they tamed him What he discovered was they don't have neuroses because when something goes wrong, they go looking in the family system to see what's happening, why, how's it affecting. And so he began to use that himself and
That's
went and
interesting.
studied with all sorts of other people, but this was an integral part of that.
That is so fascinating. So yeah, I mean, in a sense, I guess neuroses could just be like festered energy that never got resolved. Really, it's like unresolved
It's
energy.
festered. Somebody said something super interesting to me. I think about a day ago. They said to me, "Do you believe in reincarnation?" And I said to them, "Look, I don't know, but I'm hedging my bets. Any challenge that comes up, I tackle very well because I don't want to repeat it in case." But what did occur to me was if you look at it in a sense, the patterns are reincarnated through different generations. So in a sense, you could say that patterns reincarnate.
It's true. And if you think about it in DNA, I mean, it's DNA is really is information, and you can pass on information like a record to,
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. And we're only now realizing, and that's the piece that I teach, that you don't just inherit physical DNA, you also inherit emotional DNA. But emotional DNA is the stuff you can change. Somebody explained it really nicely. They said your physical DNA is the loaded gun. The epigenetic material or emotional DNA is the thing that triggers it or deactivates it. And
Correct,
that's the piece that we're working with because it also influences genealogy. It's genealogy 2.0. You know where you come from. This is why it matters and how you can use it.
That's incredible. So give us an example, I mean, of family patterns and how this can really impact like an
Oh,
individual.
goodness, so many in so many areas. One of the ones that I know I see it often is money. We don't talk about money. It's either love or money. It's education or money. Money is the love of money is the root of all evil. It's a big meta pattern. It's not even just a family pattern, but we go by that as though it were the truth, when in fact it's just our truth. And we
Right.
can change that anytime we want to. So I teach a lot about money DNA. In fact, I'm teaching that this year at Disney World. And it's how does money live in your world? Is it a friend? Is it an enemy? Is it a fear? How do you interact with it? Are you friendly with it? If you're not, money is not a commodity. It's a relationship. And it will show up for you the way that you show up for it. And these you see in families. You see lots of families say, "Oh, no, no, no. You know, we all do the love thing. We don't talk about money, or money's terrible." And then you get somebody who goes, "But I really want to like it." And they become the change agent.
Right.
Yeah.
So how can you change if something's like so deep-seated and there is a pattern, or maybe there is like a pattern amongst a daughter and a mother, especially when it comes to like conceiving, so I've seen it a lot with the women that I've worked with where I've seen patterns. It was really interesting because sometimes there will be something where they've seen their mother either suffering with a marriage,
Exactly.
and they viewed it and then they made meaning in their minds of what it means to be a mother.
I love that you said made meaning, because this is what emotional DNA hinges on. What is the meaning you're making out of what you are seeing and experiencing? That's everything. And if
Yeah.
you make difficult meaning, it becomes difficult. And if you make elevated meaning, it becomes success. In something like fertility or conceiving or having children, you're exactly right. You look at your mother and you go, "Oh boy, when you got married, that was the end of your life. I'm not doing that." And so the body goes, "Okay." And all of a sudden, we're dealing with infertility. Now comes a beautiful partner that you want to be with, and suddenly you want that, but you haven't dealt with what you set up in the first place. So it's still humming and buzzing around there. And until you look at what are my thoughts, what are my feelings, what are my actions, and you begin to reframe those, you're still going to get stuck by those.
Right.
And yes, there are
Similar.
absolutely patterns in fertility around that.
Yeah, and also similar and just really as a collective, because there was a point where women really wanted to show themselves as people who take charge, just like men. They're equal to men. But the reality is there's a difference. I mean, there's
I
a
would say
difference, you
we
know?
are.
Yeah.
We are equal differently. You're exactly
Yeah.
right. Why we wanted to be equal in the same way, I don't understand. I do. If you look at the perks, there were perks, right?
Yeah.
We wanted the perks. I think we're figuring out more and more that you really can have an equal influence and an equal weight.
Right.
You don't have to be male to do that. So yes, and a lot of that again would have shut down the desire, the need, the want, the ability to conceive. If I'm being male, I can't really be female, can I?
Mm-hmm.
And then there are other things where women feel it's so individual, but I've seen it where women cannot. I had one, she could not conceive naturally at all. When we had a look at her history, she'd been raped.
Oh,
So
wow. Yeah.
yeah, so sex is dirty.
Right.
Can't do it. Nothing good can come of this. I do not want to give birth to what comes of this. But put her in a hospital setting, do the IVF. She was good to go because it was
Oh, that's
clean,
interesting.
sanctioned, sanitary, fine.
So that, I mean, it's so fascinating how we really do store emotions in our bodies, and our bodies do react to certain things subconsciously. We don't really even realize because we think it's
Right.
something of the past and we think we're rid of it, but it still lives within us and influences our day to day and our month to month. And so, how do people really look at themselves, figure that out, and unwind and unpack this?
I think there are two things. One, the most important thing is it still lives in you if it hasn't been resolved and reframed. It
Mm-hmm.
also lives in you as a source of wisdom. It's not just there to torment you. It's never been there
Right.
to torment you. It really is a source of wisdom. It's to look at. Now, to unpack that, what you want to do is sit down and write down, what are my thoughts? What are my feelings? What are my actions around this? And then, when did that start for me? What was happening in my life at the time? What did I make it mean about me? What did I make it mean about others? And then, is there anybody else in the family who has a similar pattern or something with a flavor of what I experience? Because then you're going to know if you inherited it or you're beginning it. You could be one of two. You can be the one creating the emotional DNA,
Mm-hmm.
but frequently we're inheriting the emotional DNA. So that's the way you unpack that piece. And then it's a question of, so what does my heart really want? What is it calling me to? I so want to be a mother. If you so want to be a mother, tell me your thoughts, feelings, and actions about that. When did that start for you? What changed? Why did you suddenly decide, I want to be a mom? I want to carry this child. What meaning did you make of that? What was happening in your life at the time? Again, so you're doing the other side of that. And then it's to sit down once you've got all of that and literally give yourself one new thought. What is one new thought I can have? I'm not like mom. I'm doing it differently. I do want to be a mom. I have support. I can do this. Is very different to mom feeling trapped. Mom looking at that thing going, oh my goodness, I'm pregnant. Me looking at it going, look at that. I'm pregnant is one new feeling. One new action is, how do I hide this? Or one old action, how do I hide this? What do I do? What am I going to do? Hey, everybody, I'm pregnant. Look, it's reframing that whole piece. And the body, as you know, starts to react to that because you're either reacting to the hormones of stress or that lovely dopamine piece that's going, here we go. And what you want to do is activate those elevated emotions, elevated thoughts, and elevated feelings and actions. And when you do that, you start to move, you rewire the brain, you rewire the heart and gut, and now you've got that coherence and alignment, and that moves you in a different direction.
You know what I think about sometimes, I hear about this a lot. It's difficult sometimes when people are trying to conceive and then they get positive pregnancy announcement. It gives they almost have a visceral reaction to it.
Right.
And then I've seen people go through that and validate their way and maybe like pause on going to events if it was too much, and then really being patient with themselves. But then sometimes I see a shift. We do acupuncture and they also, most of the time people find me, but they're doing so many other things at home. They're doing everything in so many different ways, probably finding someone like you as well, and working really on emotions. And interestingly enough, sometimes people will, before they conceive, will get to a place where they're actually okay with seeing the pregnancy announcements and finding almost a part of themselves that's happy for people, even though they haven't gotten it, because they're getting to a place of peace. And it's interesting because I think that opens them up, because I feel like we mirror how we are to other people mirrors how we are to ourselves. If we don't want someone else to get it, somewhere in the subconscious mind, could it be that we're also blocking ourselves from getting it? Does that make sense?
How dare you if I can't? How am I supposed to be happy for you if I can't for me? What do you want me to do with this? I look at you, you're complete, I'm incomplete. Yeah. So when you get to the stage where you go, that's amazing. You're allowing that softening to happen. You're allowing the idea of it's possible for me to happen. So you're not locked in anymore to, I can't, it's not fair. All of those are starting to subside, and they're making way for a very different epigenetic imprint or rewiring.
Yes.
And so, of course, the body can listen, or the body can listen to the brain. So a very important part of any of this is the brain has to tell the body a story that the body can believe. When that happens, that's when you get the lock-in. So your brain's feeling good, your gut is settled because that's your inner compass, and your heart opens. That's when you get that alignment and there's a yes. If there's a no anywhere along any one of those, you're going to have more trouble. But when those three are just that yes, and the brain tells the body a story and the body goes, got it, that's when we see those shifts.
Right. So basically when you're seeing something and you're saying a no, your body just understands it's a no.
Or your brain's going, yeah, and your body's going, not so fast. You haven't dealt with that, and you haven't dealt with that, and I am not on board.
Right. So
it's exactly why with anything, you could sit there all day long and go, I'm going to make $1 million, I'm going to make $1 million, I'm going to make $1 million. Yeah. If it's sitting up here, it's doing nothing.
Right.
It's when it goes, oh, you know what the possibilities are? And then it settles in the gut, and the gut goes, this is fun. Let's see what we can do. Or in the case of a child, is there room for a child? I want a child. I'm ready for a child. I'm ready for a child. And the gut's going, oh, no, we're not doing that. You haven't dealt with the fact that over there's this real incompletion. But I really want a baby. No, we're not doing it. And then the heart's sitting there going, I'm a little scared about this. It's when the heart goes, okay, I can open a bit to the possibility that the gut goes, okay. And the brain goes, okay, so can we tell a story now? Once upon a time, and everybody's in harmony, and off we go.
So it's really aligning. It's really
aligning. I feel like it's state just of coherence. Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting. Well, I talk about this a lot on my podcast. I love Joe Dispenza, and I went to his
of course
seminar, and he talks all about coherence. So
this is it.
Even people meditating together become like a school of fish, and it's almost like neurons, really. And the same thing happens with the neurons in our brain. When we're stressed out, they're incoherent. And when we start to get to this place of balance and peace through meditation or directed intent, then they become coherent. But usually the magic formula, which I really kind of thought about when you said about the body, is the emotion. And
it is the emotion.
Yeah, we experience that in our bodies. We experience emotions in our bodies. So kind of like the key is right there. It's the emotion.
It's the elevated emotion or the not elevated emotion. Totally is. So that's what I was talking about. When the brain tells the body the story that the body can believe, that emotion's sitting right there. It's going,
right.
oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. And
Yeah.
when those come together and you've got heart open, brain, frontal lobe open, gut open, and it's singing, that's when you have the magic happen, because there is no discord. There are no breaks on. There are no mental breaks on. There are no universal breaks on. It's all saying go, 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 go.
Mm-hmm.
And if you maintain that state of coherence, shift will happen. Now, as you said, with the elevated emotion, and yes, to Joe Dispenza, I've been to his events. Yeah. And a lot of people who've been there say to me, you're doing that, but it's because what I do is I use live representatives. We're very well able to sense into each other's systems, although we're not taught we do. If you watch American Idol or America's Got Talent and you see somebody get it, you get goosebumps, you've just sensed into their system.
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is we use live representatives so you can actually see your entire system or the issue we're dealing with. If it was infertility, we might have a representative for mom, a representative for you, a representative for grandma, a representative for babies, and you then see it. You hear yourself and the sentences that you say about it. You feel it, because we're very capable of doing that. And when you achieve that state of coherence, when you begin to swing it around, suddenly you're going, yes, 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 with the gut, and it goes boom, and you have this embodied experience. And it's that aha moment that happens in the moment. And it's something that Joe talks about as well. It's almost that piece where you achieve that coherence and everything just elevates, and you have that transformational moment.
Mm-hmm.
And it rewires very quickly. People often talk about traumatic neural pathways and how you can lay it down like that. You can do the same with transformational pathways. So you have that in the moment experience. It settles into your body. You know that. If you've been to Joe Dispenza, you've had that experience. It settles into your body. It affects the biology of your cells. This is what the systemic work in constellations does too. And emotional DNA, it begins to change it.
It's amazing to me because there's so many teachings right now and methods. They're different. Each one is different, but it really is just another path to get to this place.
I love that. And I think they're all trying to teach us the same thing. It's in your hands.
Yes.
Because in ours, it's in your family system. It doesn't matter whether you know it or not. It's there. It's in the ways that you think, feel, and act. Yes. It's right there, and you can use it. This isn't, I keep saying to people, transformation isn't for the chosen few. It's for those who choose it.
Thank you for saying that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We're not helpless.
We're so not helpless. The big sleep globally at the moment is victimization.
Yes.
When we start to move past that and we stop getting stuck, and this work teaches you that too, 90% of the time you're reliving your ancient history or the history of your ancestors. It's not you.
Right.
When you move past the victim, you become unstuck, fully present, and now that predictable future is no longer your predictable future. You're creating something completely different.
Oh my God. Yes, yes, yes. To so many things you just said. So it's interesting that you came from medicine, because a lot of times what I see in medicine is you do not have the power. We do. And this is what you need to do. And this is what your future is going to look like. And I don't mean to knock, because I know that like there's benefits from every perspective and every medicine. Absolutely. You need to know what benefits you're going to get from who when you go and you get your labs, and you really need to know what you're going for, but not give your full power. And I say this to anybody. You should not give your full power to anybody.
Or anything. You should not.
Yeah.
In fact, I have a daughter who's a physician. And it's interesting because in my family, there is a pattern of people being killed by medicine. We have 3 generations of it. So I went from being in medicine to being really skittish around medicine. It was like, I don't trust them. I don't like them. I don't like medicine. And so the universe in all its elegance gave me a daughter who is in medicine. But but I would say she is open. She does not dogmatically tell her people. What she
Yes.
will do is she will sit down and say, here's what I want you to do. Here's why I want you to do it. Do you have questions? This is your life, not mine. You need
Yes.
to participate with this. And so, of course, she has many, many patients because they all know if they come to her, she is not just good, but she's good at listening to what works for them too. She's not
Yes.
deaf. And
I
this is
love that.
something that's important.
That's it. I think that they should be teaching that. I mean, my husband's a doctor and
There
they
you
should be
go.
teaching that. And he says the same thing. He says the biggest problem is, and he sees it all the time, is that people don't know when to say, I don't know.
Yeah, well, we don't
That's
teach
it.
them. If you think of old medicine, it was, I'm the patriarch, do what I say, you'll get better.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't evolved so that one new thought, one new feeling, one new action is, this is my body. I want to be here for a long time. I need to understand my body.
Mm-hmm.
Help me understand my body. What are good decisions to make? I don't know what you are telling me now. And
Yeah.
I've learned that for myself. I do. I'll say to them, no, we're not doing that because I don't understand what it is that you're asking me to do. No,
Yeah.
until you explain it in a way that makes sense to me, we're not doing that.
100%. But that's really taking that power and realizing that and I think that the epidemic that we have is that we believe ourselves to be so much smaller than we really
Oh
are,
my goodness.
right?
Exactly. Exactly. You've hit it bang on. In every area of our lives, we pretend to be small and we're not. We're not.
Mm-mm.
We're not victims. We're not victims. And in case we missed it, we are not victims, people.
Yeah.
And I got into trouble a little while ago on a podcast for somebody said to me, suffering is sacred. And I said to them, look, suffering's going to hit us all at some point. But if you keep sitting in it, suffering is stupid. It means you've learned precisely nothing from
Yeah.
this. Learn
Yeah.
it and put it out the way. We really weren't born to suffer. We were born to evolve and to
That's
grow and
right.
enjoy.
Yes.
And we
Yes.
keep missing it. I swear, whatever's out there in the universe sits there and goes, not this again.
But you know what, though? Suffering sometimes brings people rewards, and that's why they keep doing it.
Victim rewards. Look,
Yeah.
victim is very well monetized, sanitized, and sanctioned at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the problem with it. A slushy from a fast food chain is wonderful. They taste great. You drink enough of those, they make you really, really sick.
Yep.
So do you want to keep doing that, or do you want to discover that there are some really elegant other non-slushies out there? And if you try those, they bring you so much more. We've gotten stuck in the slushy of victimhood.
Yes. I think what's interesting is life, just like the body, just like the cells, just like really the intelligence that created us, life will bring us patterns and move us in a direction that will motivate us to grow. Because,
I hope so,
yeah,
because I think that's the intention. I
yeah,
really do. I don't ever feel like a pattern is brought to destroy you. It's brought
yeah,
to say to you, what can I become through you? And that's on us.
right. Totally. And so people can really, it begins with awareness. Everything
Yes.
begins with awareness. Becoming
Being willing to be aware.
right. That's a good point. Yeah, you got to be willing first to open, and then once you start to see it, and then at that point, I mean, you're so much more ahead. Just your awareness by itself, you're already growing. The work's already started,
Oh,
and
could
that's when
not
we start
agree
to
with
know.
you more. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. The minute you do that, the minute you start to say, I wonder what if. So the
mm-hmm.
minute you move from what is to beginning to consider what's possible, you're on your journey. Now you cannot stay stuck there. I go back to, we are so stuck in ancient history right now that the stuff is littering our potential future. It's
Mm-hmm.
not great. We've got to allow history to be history. And we've got to be present in order to create a very different future. And we have possibilities like people don't even begin to understand. We really do. We are co-creators. This isn't just a nice idea. It is who we are.
It really is amazing. I do think that like collectively, when we do realize our power and then we work together, we can really change the frequency of the whole planet. And I've seen it, it's interesting with the Joe Dispenza retreats, they've actually had random event generators in the back. And whenever people did coherence healings, they would start to move in ways that they're not random, which is so crazy. They would just move randomly normally. That's what random event generators or random motion generators, they're like robots that go all over the place. The fact that these robots, these non-living things can get influenced, which is really part of reality, like can be influenced by human coherence and mind coherence is really fascinating.
So what you see in systemic work and constellations that's fascinating is people will come in with issues that they've had for years. We're talking 20 years, 30 years, and they'll suddenly come back from a break or something and they'll go, my mother called me. And I go, okay. My mother hasn't spoken to me in 20 years. Why today? Because you're doing work and you're shifting things. Or people will say, I see this all the time. I had somebody who said to me, I struggle because I keep feeling like I'm about to be decimated and I could die when somebody uses a tone of voice. And I said to them, it's very, what did they say? It came down to it being about, it's a very fighting energy. And I said, where's the war in the family? And they looked at me and they said, what do you mean? And I said, you're behaving as though you were about to die in a war. And they said, I've been obsessed with World War II books for years.
Oh, wow.
And I said, okay. And he said, I've never thought about it. That's my grandfather. And I said, yep, it's been speaking to you for a long time, getting your attention. If you pay attention and you study this work, you will see that all the time your systems are speaking to you. They are putting objects, sentences, thoughts and feelings all the time. If you have idiosyncratic language, you're literally telling the story of your system. I had a woman who came in who said to me, oh my goodness, it was frantic today. It was an explosion. I was almost decimated. I mean, I just about burned up and I was nearly eviscerated. And I said to her, what happened? And she said, well, I was a little bit late for work and the boss was upset. And I went, that equals that? Where's the big catastrophe in the family? And she said, oh, yes. My mother and I outran a volcano. My father and brother did not. And it was all in the language. So you want to pay in this work particular attention to language and body language because it's telling the history all the time. And the reason it's telling the history and the reason the patterns are there is so you can evolve. It's saying to you, what now? What next? What's possible? How much higher? Where are we going?
So that really, it sums up the whole phrase that life is happening for you and not to you.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. It is always happening for you. And you are always happening for it. Because every contribution you make adds to that collective consciousness. The knowing field is what it's referred to in systemic work. You're adding every time you say something and you do or don't react, you're adding to that field. So you want to be really aware of what you are adding.
It's so interesting that you said that, the mother calling that hasn't spoken to the daughter in a long time. When I had one time a typical mother and daughter, but my mom and I remember my initial thought was, I need to call and speak my truth. And then I was like, wait. Does that ever get you anywhere? No, it usually gets a lot worse. I'm like, so what I'm going to do is I literally just sat in meditation and ironed out the feelings that I had in my, and without even the dialogue in my head, I went to my body and the sensations and the tightness that I felt. And I kept going back to my head. It was like so, when you have certain triggers, you get hyper focused on them. It's almost like when a dog sees a squirrel, you just can't get their attention away from it.
Exactly.
So that's how I felt myself. I was so hyper focused on it that I had to bring myself back to my body like quite a few times to say, okay, enough with the dialogue. Let's go back to the body. And I had to like literally talk to myself. So once I was in my body, I was able to iron out the pull. It was like this pull. It was just this strong kind of like a cord. And when I did that and I eased, I actually feel like I corrected the whole issue without saying a word to my mom. And I did it just through myself. So that's the difference between a victim, because I could have been a victim going to her and trying to change what's outside of me and saying, you're doing this to me and I can't be happy until you stop. So it was kind of like I shifted rather than seeing the power in someone else's hands and my happiness depending on that. It went back to inside. Yes. And then all of a sudden things started shifting in my relationship, and that tenseness, that charge, that's the word that I was looking for.
Right.
Dissipated.
Well, you'd exactly taken care of it. You'd exactly taken care of it. Instead of feeling victimized by it, you decided to turn it into something it could become and actually do something different. So instead of feeling angry and tense, you reversed that. Now, the other thing that would be interesting would be to know, did your mom ever feel that way with her mom? Or did her mom feel that way? I
can answer that, yes.
There you go. So what you did was very quietly, you actually did a piece of work with your mom. Now, on my website, there are 2 constellations meditations, and they actually allow you to do one in the line of your mother and one in the line of your father. They get you to be able to do exactly what you're talking about. Go all the way back into the lineage, and then come all the way down and resolve one of those patterns. And by the way, the person who composed the music for it for me is the person who does Joe's.
Oh, I love the music that he uses.
Yeah. Barry Goldstein. Barry Goldstein is absolutely phenomenal. And
that's phenomenal. That's amazing.
Did both of those. Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible. And how do you reach out to him or do you buy?
You know what? This was one of those universe things, right? Barry Goldstein's a big deal. He also happens to be a Grammy award-winning composer and producer. So I looked at that when I first heard him. I was like, I know what I need to do. Nobody's ever done a constellations meditation. That has to happen. That's the person.
That's amazing.
And I literally went onto Facebook and reached out and thought, yeah, well, good luck with that. And got a reply back and went, whoops, what happened?
Wow.
And yeah, that was it. He is phenomenal. He actually composes a whole lot of music using healing sound.
That's amazing. I literally, this morning went to yoga, and I do some hypnosis audios, sometimes meditations. And I was like, there's some meditations I'd like to do for my patients. And it's just kind of like random. Right. And I was like, I need to look into more music, meditation music. And then just now you're talking about this the same exact day that I was thinking about that. So that's pretty wild.
There we go. So I walked into his studio, we laid down the tracks, and then he composed it all around that. So it is designed to take you back and forward in time.
Wow. That's so cool. Yeah. That is so amazing. Wow. So what are the things that people can do if they want to work with you? Like, how are there different ways you work with people or individuals? Because I know you do organizations a lot.
I do. I work. So there are a number of ways. One of the things is to get my book. The reason I wrote the book was because, 2 reasons actually. One, people kept pestering me and I kept saying no until I got tired of saying no. But the other one was that many people think that this is deeply transformational, nobody can do it, out there stuff and I was like, no, you need to understand everybody can do this. So I wrote it in a way that everybody will understand their family patterns, where they come from, how they affect you, what to do with them, where to go looking for them. So that's a really good place to go. So the book is one. Then, yes, I work with people privately. And then, of course, at live events. And the live events we're building larger and larger ones precisely because we know if we have that big group energy, there's a lot that you can do with that and a lot of shift that happens. And so I have 3 of them this year in Dallas, one coming up in Houston as soon as they nail down the date. And then the Money DNA one, which really shows you where yours comes from and how to change that. And that one is, as I said, is at Disney World, November 5 through 8 at Beach Club.
Which
so
is
that's how,
one that you're very excited for, I know.
I'm super excited about that one. I love it because when we go there, what we do is we work really hard during the day and then we play at night, and park tickets are included as part of the package.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Oh, yeah. And so you get to go and be in the heart of magic, making your own magic while you're learning about the magic of the soul. So yeah, I'm pretty passionate about that one. But all of the events, we do relationship events, leadership events, and all of those show you how to shift your DNA. And the beauty of that is once you've done it once, this is a door you don't walk back through. It's a little bit like any of those other ones you've been through. I'm awake. Congratulations, you don't get to go back to sleep.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is if we can work together to not go back to sleep, we're going to stop envying each other, victimizing each other, blaming each other, shaming each other. When we are locked into victim, you exclude yourself from adventure. I want people locked into their adventures because they're awesome.
Oh,
they're
I
awesome.
love that. That is so amazing. That is so empowering too, which I think we all need that. We all need to, and it's a remembering. It's not something that is not already there. It's just a remembering of who we are.
It really is. It is. It's not giving yourself permission ever again to be a victim who can't move. If there's something coming at you and you feel like a victim, it's there for a reason. It's asking you to turn it into something incredible.
I love that. And how can people find you?
Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, all of those good places.
All of the links are going to be on episode notes, by the way. So
perfect.
Yeah.
And that's Judy Wilkins-Smith because people get lost when they don't do that. Judy Wilkins-Smith.com.
And everything could be found on the website. You said, okay, great. Perfect.
Everything is there.
Awesome. Judy, this was fascinating. I'm so happy we met. I'm really excited to have had you on the podcast. This is really good information. I'm sure it's going to be inspiring to so many people because I think that when you hear things that are based in truth, it resonates in your body. You feel like, yes, right. It feels aligned.
Yes. Yes. It also feels like clean food.
Yes. Yeah. I like that. That's great. Thank you so much, Judy, for coming on. It was awesome.
Thank you for having me.
So that concludes today's episode. You can find all of the links mentioned on the episode notes. If you're enjoying these episodes, please take a moment to share and leave a review. Reviews mean everything to podcasters, and I really enjoy hearing from my listeners. You can also find me on my website at www.thewholesomelotus.com or email me at info@thewholesomelotus.com. I love hearing from my listeners. If you're interested and want updates as well as a free ebook on my top 10 fertility boosting habits, you can visit my fertility page on www.thewholesomelotus.com. I thank you so much for listening in and hope that you have a beautiful day.